Joining us here on the show is two-time Super Bowl champion. He won a ring with the Baltimore Ravens. He won a ring with the Philadelphia Eagles. Former NFL veteran wide receiver Torrey Smith. Torrey, good morning. How you doing?
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Thanks so much for joining us. And, you asked this question earlier this week on social media, and I want to delve into it. I think it's a good one. You addressed Ravens fans and said, why can't you just be happy with Lamar Jackson without tearing down Joe Flacco? Why do you think that is? Why do you think Ravens fans can't get past tearing down Flacco, even though Lamar Jackson is the guy right now?
Well, I think that's just fandom. You need something to debate, and you go with your guy now. But for me, I think it should be easier because one guy moved on. Really he handled it as best as you'll see with pure class, and you have a playmaker now who is playing out of his mind. So I think you can embrace the future, but be thankful for what Joe Flacco did for the organization.
Are you surprised at how effective Lamar Jackson's been through the air this year?
I'm not, because I believed in him from day one. So I'm hoping that it continues. And the strides he's taken, they're huge in comparison to last year. And there's nothing like knowing that you're the guy. So I believe that, he's going to continue to get better. He's going to continue to perform at a high level, and it's going to pay off for the organization.
When the Ravens came into this season and said there's going to be an offense that nobody's ever seen before, what do you think they meant by that? What do you think they know behind the scenes that gives them that confidence about how unique their offense is going to be with him?
Well, from what I've seen, I don't see anything that deserves that kind of a comment, but I think when you have a dual threat guy in that way, there's some things that you can do. Obviously, with that offense, it's paid off for guys like Colin Kaepernick in the past. So for me, playing with Colin Kaepernick as well, I recognize that when you have a special talent in terms of running and passing, it gives the coordinator a lot of flexibility.
That's an interesting comparison. I've seen that other places as well. How similar would you say Kaepernick's game and Lamar Jackson's game are?
I don't think they are similar. They both can run. Obviously, that's a major threat, but the way Lamar's playing right now is very different, and he's probably I'm not gonna say this hurts my heart to say this, but it means a lot for me to say this because Michael Vick is my favorite player. And he was my idol growing up. But the way Lamar is running the ball and the way he's throwing the ball, based on these 2 weeks, if that trend continues, it's tough to say that any dual-threat quarterback is going to be able to do what he's doing.
Torrey Smith joins us here on the show, longtime NFL wide receiver, two-time Super Bowl champion. So the Ravens have a huge test with the Kansas City Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes makes this thing look like a video game. It's hard to imagine Mahomes being better than he was last year as the NFL MVP last season, but is it possible? He's on pace for more than 6,000 yards. I know it's really early, but is he actually better than last year?
I believe he is. There's nothing that can take care of experience, meaning that each year that passes, he's going to be more comfortable. He's going to take over the offense that much more, and you can't replicate experience. And for him to go out there last year and do what he did was amazing, and he's still very young. So I'm looking forward to continuing to watch him blossom and be the superstar that he is.
You played under Chip Kelly with the 49ers, and Chip had a really interesting comment earlier this week when he said, I'm not bringing back the Oregon offense. It's not happening. I don't know who made you think that was going to happen. And this is at UCLA, where I think everybody expected, well, isn't that your offense? Why didn't it work then with Chip at the NFL level?
Well, in Philadelphia, where I did not have the opportunity to play for them, but I watched the offense, they made the playoffs. They were hot. People had a hard time controlling them. But when I was in San Francisco, I don't know if we had the personnel that aligned the right way. And you have to, when you have an offense that's up-tempo, you're going to have to be able to control the ball and stay on the field. And at times we didn't do that the best. We put our defense in tough spots. And honestly, our teams weren't as talented overall as the team we had in Philadelphia when they went to the playoffs. So as you can see, and that's not a knock on anyone. I was a part of that. And in San Francisco, the trend up until they had their guy at quarterback and Jimmy G, it continued to be tough sledding. So You have to build certain things. It's not built overnight. And just because guys are professional doesn't mean they necessarily adapt to it. That's the same in college as well. You have to get your guys in and have people that adjust to the way you're trying to run things.
On Thursday night, we saw Gardner Minshew do some big things, and I think the Jaguars franchise has been energized by this backup quarterback that nobody saw being this effective as a sixth-round rookie. Do you think Gardner Minshew can actually hold the line long enough until Foles comes back that the Jaguars have a potential playoff push?
Yeah, I believe any guy that can show up at a post-game presser dressed the way he does with that mustache is capable of accomplishing anything he dreams of. So I'm rooting for him. I'm cheering for him, and I hope the run continues. He's having fun. He's loose, and considering the things that they're having, the noise that's going around them in a negative way, a guy like that can bring some light and some energy, and I think he can hold the fort down until Foles comes back.
Torrey Smith is our guest here on Sunday Morning Football. There's been a lot of flags through the first 2 weeks of the NFL season. Is it aggravating for you as a former player to watch all the penalties?
That's always the trend. People often don't realize it. There's a lot of flags thrown in the preseason. There are a lot of flags that are thrown in the first few weeks of the season. Teams adjust, the referees adjust, and then life goes on. So it's always that way. It's kind of the norm, but it's like every year it seems like a shock because you think, there's no way they're going to do this again. Well, there they are. And especially with the new rules that they're trying to put an emphasis on. And as teams and players, you just have to learn to adjust with it. But ultimately, as time goes on, they'll put their flags away. The refs are fully aware of the way the game flow and the way we as fans feel about it.
What do you think about the Giants' decision this week to sit Eli Manning and go with the rookie? Did you think it was about time because the Giants' season's going nowhere, or did Eli deserve more time than that, just 2 weeks to keep his job?
Yeah, I think it can go either way. Obviously the soft side in me and the guy that would, has been in the locker room, you understand what type of veteran leader and winner that Eli's been for this organization. This road's coming to an end, and you would like to see him, have a fighting chance. But this commitment here is a commitment to the future and trying to see if they can spark the team. So I understand it. I think Daniel Jones is going to go out there and be able to earn his stripes and earn the respect of New York. So right now, it's tough to picture them going anywhere. But with that change, you never know what can happen. And sometimes change is needed to give your team that spark.
How tricky is that? Because that locker room, I'm sure, has a lot of respect for Eli. Anytime you're a two-time Super Bowl MVP, the guys around you, I'm sure, have a lot of respect for you. How tricky is that line? Because those guys, I'm sure, like Eli and don't want to see him lose his job.
It's always tricky, but I like to tell guys all the time, it's a business and you're the product. Spare your feelings. You have to understand this is a performance-based business, and what you want sometimes just flat out doesn't happen. And that's the nature of the business. So when you're struggling, they try to change things up, mix things up, and, oftentimes it's when they do it at the quarterback position, it's a big deal. And you have to go with it. At the end of the day, the guys are going to go out there, try to win, try to compete, and try to win some ball games.
Finally, how would you feel if you were in the locker room of the Miami Dolphins right now?
Oh, it's tough. It's very tough because when I was in San Francisco, we struggled. We lost some games, but we fought, and we were, competitive most of the time. Well, honestly, we shot ourselves in the foot a lot of the times. But when you're looking at what's going on out there, it's tough as a player to feel like, you're not tanking. And you have to be motivated each and every week knowing that, man, you could be next. And it's tough when you have to question, is everyone all in? You want me to be all in, but you're trading our guys. You're trading, you're putting us in this position. And it's tough to be a part of a building process. And that process is different for each guy. If you're an 8-9-year vet, you're very disappointed because you want the opportunity to go out there and win. If you're a rookie, it sucks, but you're kind of just going with the flow. And you want to win as well, but you understand that you have no say-so, and you often believe that next year is going to be your year. So I hope they get it together because I know personally when you're losing and you're struggling, it's stressful. And it's not just on the field. People don't think about the way it impacts you off the field and with your family and with everything. And that's relatable for anyone in the workplace. When you're having a hard time at work, sometimes it's tough to remove that baggage and when you get home. And so it really affects people both on and off the field.
Torrey Smith joining us this morning on the show. Two-time Super Bowl champion, 8 seasons in the NFL at wide receiver, dropping on by Sunday Morning Football. Torrey, great stuff this morning, man. Thanks so much for doing it with us. I'm sure we'll do it again.
All right, thank you. Appreciate you having me.
You got it. Torrey Smith, our guest this morning on Sunday Morning Football. Today,